In these past 3 weeks have gone to 3 different bookstores. I, purchased some books. So excited. This is my first book haul video that I'm doing in my new apartment since I donated so much of my TBR books and just gave away a lot of books during this move. I felt like I could, get a few to replenish, Let me share what I picked up, and then if you've read any of these yet, let me know your thoughts, because I just feel like the releases this summer, they all sound so good. Okay, the first book I got, which I am so excited about because she is a thick one, Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. This is a brand new historical fantasy book that takes place in 1882 Victorian London. Either on Goodreads or on like Amazon description, it was being described as X-Men meets the Umbrella Academy, which is really what sold me for this book. I love Wolverine, so I love X-Men. Also obsessed with the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. I did not read the comics. I'm so sorry. Was it a comic or was it a book series? In this book, we are following 2 characters who are both orphans, and both of them have powers. One of the kids, based off the description, he can heal himself. The second kid can glow in the dark. So it says here that the second child, he has this strange bluish light that emanates from him, and I guess he can burn people or melt people with this power that he has inside of him. Because of their power, both of these orphans are in danger. There's bad people out there that are trying to get them, but there's a female detective who works for this kind of institute in London for kids with powers or kids with supernatural abilities, so she's sent to go and find them. Love historical fantasy novels, so I'm super excited about this one, and I really hope that I just have high hopes for this one. The next book I have here is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I'm so excited about this. One of my book friends recommended this. I think the last book that I read by Riley Sager was either Final Girls or Lock Every Door, and I listened to it on audiobook following our main character, Casey. Now, she is an actress who recently lost her husband. She was recently widowed. Decided to escape the press by going to her family's lake house in Vermont just to kind of get away from everything. Since she's at the lake house by herself, she decides to kind of spy on her neighbors across the lake. I believe it's a model and a guy who's like a tech innovator. They're a couple. Rescues the wife, Catherine, from drowning, and they become kind of friends after that, and she starts to realize that their marriage, even though it looked perfect from a distance, has a lot of issues. And then all of a sudden, Catherine disappears, and she immediately suspects the husband of having done something, but then she realizes that there's more to the story than just what Catherine told her. This is a psychological suspense novel, and I am so excited. Yes, very, very looking forward to reading this one. Okay, the next book I have here, I'm sure you've seen it. Walked into the bookstore, I just immediately just take my money and give me this book. Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. This book here is a romance book. I think it's either new adult or adult, but I for sure know it falls into like the over 18 category. I read the first chapter, and they just get straight to it from the beginning. In this book, we are following the sharp-tongued and secretly soft-hearted Kiki Banjo, and she has a radio show at her college where she talks about relationships, she talks about romance, she talks about just like everything. On her radio show, she calls out this guy named Malachi as being like the waste man, or like the guy that everyone should stay away from. Then, right after she publicly denounces him, she gets caught kissing him in front of like the whole campus, or in front of like everyone who listens to her show. In order to save her radio show, she ends up entering into a fake relationship with him just to kind of, save her reputation. My professional guess, based off having read many books with, couples having to do like a fake relationship for whatever reason, actually, start kind of falling for him. Okay, the next book I have here, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akweke Amezi. In this romance novel, we are following our main character who, about 5 years ago, she lost the love of her life in an accident. It's been about 5 years. She finally feels ready to maybe put herself back out there, get back into the dating scene. She's an artist and has her own art studio and lives with her best friend. She isn't ready to jump into a very serious relationship just yet, but she does end up meeting someone, having a bit of a steamy encounter, adventure is what she says. She travels and is just meeting different people. At the same time, she's still grieving from the loss of having lost her partner 5 years prior. I'm so looking forward to reading this book. Another one that I've just heard wonderful things about. And I don't know which of these two, as far as romance goes, that I'll dive into first. Let me know which one you think I should get into first. The next book I have here is The Measure by Nikki Erlich. One morning, everybody wakes up and they have a little small box in front of their door that tells them how long they're gonna live for. So basically it tells them their fate, how many years they have left. It's such a simple concept, and I don't think I've read anything like this before. I think I've watched maybe a few movies that kind of tie into this, like, you know, knowing how long you have to live. In this book we follow 8 different people. We're following best friends who they both find out they have like different periods of time to live, a doctor, a politician. There really isn't much more that I could share. That's just pretty much the main plot of the story, and that was enough for me to pick up this book. I think it's kind of terrifying to find out that information, to actually be like, okay, you have this much time left. I think it would really just scare the living daylight out of me. Kind of fear mixed with my curiosity is what made me pick up this book, and I'm really interested to see the story and to follow these different characters. Okay, I have another book that also is of a similar format in which we're following different characters, but it's a collection of 12 different stories. Night of the Living Rez by Morgan Talty, contemporary novel, and it's set in the Native community in Maine. We get to read 12 different stories from the indigenous community of people who live there. I'm not sure if those 12 stories that we get in here are just 12 individual kind of short stories or if they all tie together. I love novels where we get more than one story in a story, so I'm very excited to dive into this and just to get more insight. Okay, the next book I have here I am so excited for, because this book actually takes place in Hawaii, where I'm from, and we're following a Hawaiian main character. It was written by a native Hawaiian author. It also incorporates, I believe, some supernatural elements that has to do with Hawaiian mythology and our different deities and gods. So I'm so excited. I don't know how I didn't find this book sooner. Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawai Strong Washburn. This book takes place in the year 1995 in Kailua Kona, Hawaii, and we're following our main character Nainoa, who he ends up falling off of a boat into the water when he's out in the ocean with his family, and there's just a pool of sharks in the water, and his whole family starts to panic and freak out. They think he's gonna be like eaten and killed. Instead, one of the sharks actually brings him back onto the boat and delivers him safely, and ever since that happened, his family has taken that as a sign that he's favored by the gods, by the Hawaiian gods. And then after this event, slowly he starts to develop these abilities. I'm guessing there's some sort of supernatural abilities. The synopsis doesn't say too much about it. As time passes, his family kind of starts to break apart because of him. Some sort of supernatural event ends up happening back at home. They're all forced to travel back home and to see each other again and kind of repair those bonds of family while dealing with this thing that's happening. I am so excited about this novel. It just feels so horrible because it came out so many years ago and it just escaped my radar. I believe in divine timing, so I am happy that I found this book now. Okay, the last book I have here is a book that actually came out last year and I finally got my hands on it. Book of Night by Holly Black. This is her new dark fantasy novel. It came out, I think, in like October of last year. My favorite book by Holly Black is The Darkest Part of the Forest. I know everyone loves The Cruel Prince. I only read the first book in that whole series, so I still need to go back and finish it. I love Holly Black for The Darkest Part of the Forest. This book, we're following our main character named Charlie Hall. Now, she works for these people called Glowamist. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she basically works for these people who steal from magicians. So they are magicians and they use their magic to like rob and steal from other magicians, or at least that's what I'm gathering from the synopsis. Decides to leave the whole world of magicians and is now working as a bartender at a bar. Someone from her past, from her magical past, ends up showing up and she gets pulled back into that world and is pulled into all of these different murders and lies that are going on. I have yet to be disappointed by a Holly Black book, and I'm excited to get back into her writing. She has such a distinct, I want to say writing style, but also just like vibe. Like her books are a vibe, you know? Yeah, so these are all the books that I picked up. I am so excited to get into these new books. Let me know which one you think I should dive into first, but I'm thinking that Ordinary Monsters might be my first read just because I'm super into fantasy right now. I decided I think I'm gonna put my TBR books on the top of my shelf since I do have some space there, so I'm gonna be putting those up there later today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, keep reading and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!